Hello and welcome to Geno's Gizmos. We got this lock that was sent to us by a guy from California who saw one of my videos of me fixing an old antique lock. He sent it to me hoping that I might be able to fix this one. This one has been damaged. I'm guessing the safe was burglarized at one point. This cover was broken off. The nose was broken completely loose, and the cover was snapped in half. Somebody has done a poor job of epoxying it back together. I've taken and experimented with it, so I've already taken some of the epoxy off, seeing if I could fix this, which the best way to fix this is to basically unrepair it to repair it correctly. So we've agreed on a price, and I am going to do this for him. I have no idea how long this is going to take and how many hours it might take, how much time it might take, but it's kind of a labor of love for me, and it's one of those things that I do. Not that many guys in the country will do it. I know several around the country that I could send this to, and some of them would say, throw it out and replace it. Of course, you can't find these. These are just not available. There's a few guys out there that have them, but most do not. I mean, they're just not available. I know a guy in Michigan that might have these. I know a guy out in New York that might have this. But that's about it. So my job is going to be to disassemble all of this bad repair on here. This is all an epoxy, probably a two-part epoxy. That's all coming off. We'll clean this back to bare metal, and we'll correctly put it back together. Looks like we may have to straighten out some parts. There's some warpage here, but it may also be that it was just assembled wrong, and by cleaning it up, we could get this back to where we need it. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to take it to the wire wheel. Well, didn't like me. So I forgot to turn the video on, but I just did an experiment where I took this piece and I welded it together. Now I'm off just a hair here, but it's not enough that I'm going to worry about it. Got a piece of slag down in there. Just knock that out, but need to. Oh, experiment did not work. Okay, I need to get it. This is a high carbon steel, and I think that's my issue. So I need to make a good V into this two pieces of metal to get these to work. And I didn't quite accomplish that. So I'll clean this back up and we'll try it again. Okay, I've V-notched the spots where I need to weld. Oh, so I'm trying to hold this together. So I've added this clamp, but apparently that's not the way I should be doing this. So I need to figure out how I can set that piece of metal on there, keep these pieces held tight together. Just about thinking I'm going to use my hand to hold it there. And then run a tack on these there and here. So I think we're going to just have to use the old gloved hand. And tack it that way. I can't see any other way to do it. So I think that's where we're at. So we got a good penetration on this one. You can see the spot there. It's actually penetrated all the way through. This one here is across there. This thing's still radiating a pretty good heat. I'll take this to the grinder over there and clean this all up. I'll start by knocking the splatters off. Man, this thing's hot even in my gloved hand. So I think we got a good weld on that. I still got two more pieces to weld to this to make this hole. So we'll clean this up first and then we'll work on the next batch. So I made a mistake. I ground my V on the wrong side. That's okay. I'll just space it out underneath and make sure it's level here, and we'll tack it together. That's the spot it's supposed to be. Now, can I hold it there and do this? Well, that's the ultimate question. So, right there. Well, let's put the glove on, put the mask on, and weld it up. Well, I think I got it welded up pretty good here. because it's on the wrong side, I got a lot of grinding and finishing to do to get that taken down, because that has to be flat up against the safe, and we don't want anything pushing it around. So got a lot of grinding to do here, and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. You can see the crack over here. I had some fairly decent penetration. It came around the corner here. Looks like I've got enough to keep it together. Slight bend to it, that's the way it came to me. I think it'll work fine. We'll clean it up and see what happens. Lots of sparks. My understanding is that means it's a high carbon steel. Lots of carbon in there. As this was cast originally, I totally agree, it's high carbon steel. So far we're doing pretty good here. Now I've got to weld the nose on there. I got to figure out what position it came out and weld it back in. That's pretty close. I got that weld over there in the way, so I'll have to adjust it. Got to put some an indicator on here exactly which way this goes, and then notch it so I can start welding it up. All right, that's the next step. So I've worked the nose here, figured out how it needs to go in there, and then I've used the post as my guide as to how it needs to be situated in there. So with that said, this is sitting a little low in there, which is not really a big deal. But for me it is. You know, for most people it wouldn't be, but for me it is. So I am going to get a pair of pliers to hold that, lift it up but just a hair, and then tack it in place. And I've already V'd along the cover here, and I've ground down along the edge of the nose. So once I have it all lined up, grab a hold of it, we'll just start tacking it in place. Okay, so I've tacked it here, I've tacked it here. It's pretty much where I want it to be. Slight bend to it, it's not bad. I may try to tweak it here before I put it in the vise upside down and hit it with a weld from the back. So, onward. Yep, not having a good evening. So, I'm going to quit, come back tomorrow or next day and work on it. Start over, basically. I'll get her, but it's not working the way I want her to. So I forgot to take video of me welding this piece back together. It involves a lot of time, patience, and understanding of how cast metal works. I didn't understand that originally, but after a lot of research, I think I've got this. Basically, you tack weld the pieces together, then you heat them up really hot, the whole thing, and then you come back and weld everything while it's really hot. Then you want it to cool down as slowly as possible. So you dunk it in some kind of medium that keeps it from cooling off very fast. You want it to slowly cool off, extremely slowly, days. So what did I do? I stuck it in sand. This was a medium that was was suggested by several different items that I researched. So, forgot to show the welding. Let's show the exposure from the sand. All right. So there it is. Welded from the backside. Looks like, if everything went right, we got us a finished product. Well, we got us a working product. I'm going to have to grind all that down, and most of it's going to be done with a Dremel because you don't want to get carried away and start grinding too fast. But all my major spots look good. So I've been working on this for a little bit. This part is the plug, keyway plug. This is the foot. These two parts can be separated. Let's see if I can get this in the camera here. So I got multiple projects going here at the same time, but this one here, this part on the bottom is called the foot or the cam. This is called the post. This part is separate from that part. It's basically squeezed on there tight or press fit on there, and at some point this was pulled out by sticking a screw down in here and jacking it out of the lock that it was in. There's quite a bit of damage there, and I'm hoping that we can just hide it. I've already put the foot back on and spread the post to make it stay, to get it tight. But there's still some issues here. So I've got a flat file out, real thin flat file, and I'm going to make this go through there smoothly so there's no binding on the key. So that's my next one here, is I'll get that straightened out, and we'll move on from there. And by filing it, we're also going to go down in here and clean out those leftover markings from whatever sheet metal screw that they used in here, and that's what it looks like. The threads are so wide, or the cuts are so wide, that a sheet metal screw was used, and I suspect they had issues getting this out. There's probably was a piece on the bottom here. You can see what looks like casting. So there was probably a curtain on the bottom here. That curtain basically kept that from coming out, and we're going to see what we can do about making sure that this doesn't come out in the future. I don't know yet how I'm going to do that, but I'm working on some ideas. So yeah, this was broken out. There's a lot of damage here. I don't know if it's burglarized or if it was a locksmith somewhere who didn't understand these locks and went the wrong way about getting into it. So I'm going to continue here seeing if I can repair all this. this is the lock bolt out of this lock. It's made out of bronze. It was cast. I thought there might be some markings here. It looks like a number 8. That's what it looks like. There's a 43 stamped on the end, and that's all that's there. This has been kind of polished. At one time this was a bright brass colored. So I will polish that up. I'll probably polish the tip there, probably polish this all up in here, and get this. The more you polish it, the easier it works. It'll slide over other metals easier. So that's the plan with that piece. So I just got done polishing the end of this up, and boy, that looks good. I'm just hoping I can make the rest of it look that good. So it's got some damage here that I'm going to try to work out. There's some damage there. It's not bad. I think I can buff all that out of there. There's some here that I'm not going to worry about. Some on the side. This piece buffed up real good. I still want to buff up these. Man, it's hot. There's some good damage right there. So I'm going to clean up these spots here. Buff them up good. Buff up the back a little bit. This doesn't have to polish up that well. But it looks to me like this might have been bronze, but then got plated. So I'm not positive. I'll buff on it some more and see what happens. Okay, so I just got done buffing out the high spots. This is areas where the other parts will rub against this bolt. So we've got a low spot there, so it didn't pick that up. But a high spot here and here, high spot here, those have all been kind of polished out, smoothed out. And we did the back of it. This is the part that's further into the lock or faces more into the safe. We've got some spots here and here that'll need to be taken down, but this actually sits kind of high, so it's not necessary for me to take them down. It's just another thing just to smooth it out a little bit. That rides high enough in there. It actually rides on another cast piece up in this area to keep it from actually touching the back, so it makes for a smooth operation. So this is the lock case itself. This is the part that everything gets assembled into. Somebody in the past has painted it silver. Now I don't know if that was done at the factory or if it was done after the fact. I'm gonna guess it was done at the factory, but that is only a guess. It's showing wear here and that type of thing. I'm debating on whether to take it all the way down to bare metal or not. But for now, I'm going to take steel wool and I'm going to use it to help me clean this thing up. So this will take most all of that off of the surface here. It'd be a lot of rubbing to get this off, but I can take it off of here and get this cleaned up, removes any of that rust that's on there. We don't have to remove it all, but we're going to remove most of it. And this is bare metal in here. However, that's not the way I'm going to leave it. When these come from the factory, they come like this. Unless it was a big lock, in which case it would come painted some color. So my thought is we're going to paint this a color, and that will help also preserve it. So this is silver on the back here. Silver was a common color. I'm thinking we will leave it that color, but I don't know yet. We may change our minds. So I have been tasked to make this operate. So that's our first priority. Okay. Here's what it looks like after you strip all the paint off of it. We're down to bare metal. What do you think of that? Torn up finger. And yes, I did it working on this lock. So, a little more cleaning up to do in here. And a little bit more to take off. Not much. And we will definitely figure out a color paint to make this, because bare metal just doesn't work. And bare metal would work if you were doing jeweling or something like that on, or if you were polishing it up, but this definitely needs to be colored. Just got done, finished assembling this. Had to clean up all the levers inside. They were totally damaged by whoever opened this lock, busted it up. A lot of work to straighten them out, flatten them out, get rid of all the damage, make it smooth, and cut a new key. So here's the new key. Lock works. And this thing was in bad shape. Look at that. The key can actually be pulled out in the locked or unlocked position. So I need to make another duplicate. This is the key that was with it. This is the key I made for it. It works now. This key here was close, but not close enough. Somebody actually tried to make the lock work the key and boogered up the levers. So there we go. I got it working. We're going to make a duplicate for this, so he'll have two of them and send it back to him. And there you have it.